Call to order the June 15th, 2020 Wilson County Commission meeting. Welcome all of our guests here tonight and invite you to come back as often as possible. It is good to meet in person, and I appreciate all the commissioners that worked hard to get this budget ready for tonight, if you pass it, and second, in working through all of the technology issues that we did. So thank you for that. I know that was a challenge. Appreciate Sara and Aaron, all of them, and Teresa for everything they did to make all that happen. That was it was a new challenge for us, and we learned a whole lot. At this time, I'll call on Commissioner Glover for the prayer and pledge tonight.
Let us pray.
Please rise.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for all your blessings. We thank you for everything you do for us. We thank you for letting us live in a community that comes out and gives support when we need it. We're so thankful for all the men and women here who had the desire to go out and serve their community. And we all understand it can get tough sometimes, but we just appreciate their willingness to serve. We thank you for our community leaders. We thank you for our state leaders, our national leaders. We pray that you will be with them, that as we make decisions, as they make decisions, that we look to you, that we look and just ask for your guidance as we make the hard decisions that for those that we represent. We thank you for everything you do for us. We thank you for the meeting tonight. We pray that we will conduct ourselves in a professional manner, in a loving manner, and do what's best for the people in our districts. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Glover. This time, if you will, please press yes on your panel to record your presence at tonight's meeting. Please record. here. 24 present and 1 absent. This time, reporting from the steering committee, Commissioner Patton.
Yes, the steering committee met tonight, and the minutes will be in your packet next month.
Here, got a motion to approve her report. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda, Commissioner Patton?
There's no consent agenda. But we have to do the regular agenda.
Okay, my bad.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Not bad. No consent agenda. Any special recognition at this time? Seeing none, we'll move forward with reports of the Minutes Committee. Commissioner Bishop?
The Minutes Committee met this evening, just prior to this meeting. We approved the minutes as printed with one correction. I make a motion for this report to be received and filed.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Reading of the minutes?
Move we dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, at this time, elections and appointments, Mr. Goodall, anybody to be added? Have a list in front of you to hear a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. At this time, I'm going to ask you to confirm the appointment of the county representative to the City of Lebanon Municipal Airport Commission. Upon your confirmation, I'd like to reappoint Commissioner John Gentry to this position for another 2-year term expiring on June of 2022. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Library Board are 2 members. You are to elect 2 members to serve a 3-year term each on the Library Board. These appointments will expire June 30th, 2023. I'd like to recommend to you Miss Betty Stone and Miss Betty Jo Dedman for your consideration. There are a letter of recommendations from the board chairman, Mr. Mills, that was put in your packet for these two ladies. Do I hear a motion? I got a motion, Ms. Diane Weathers. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed? Report from the Emergency Management Committee, Commissioner Glover.
No report.
And Emergency Management Director's report, Director Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor, County Commission, good evening. Our call report, basically, where we're at right now is pretty normal for this time of year. Emergency management activities, of course, since March 23rd, we've been working the coronavirus pandemic. And to date, we have received and distributed just under 46,000 pieces of equipment throughout the county. So we're still going strong in that, with another large shipment coming in tomorrow that will distribute Wednesday or Thursday. So that concludes my report unless there's any questions.
I hear a motion to approve.
To approve.
And a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Director Cooper. Report from Law Enforcement Committee, Commissioner Rich.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, the Law Enforcement Committee met here at the courthouse on June the 1st, 5:30. Minutes are in your packet. I make a motion these be received and filed.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Now discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed? Thank you. Report from the Sheriff's report, Sheriff Bryan.
Thank you, Mayor, County Commissioners. Your report's in your packet. You're going to see the month of May, a lot of the figures on it's jumped up a whole lot. A lot of things been going on around the office with the coronavirus. Courts are been shut down. They're slowly starting to reopen right now. So you look at court case, the criminal warrants and the civil warrants, you'll notice that jump. And we, under court order, we've been having to hold off on them for the past couple of months, so that we're starting to serve them again. So them numbers are really going to jump. Calls for service is up, and they'll continue to rise through the summer months. I stand up here tonight, and the highest number in the jail was 360. A few months ago, we was averaging 460 above capacity, but with all the courts being closed, I just want everybody to understand them numbers in the jail. I've been told it could be a tsunami of inmates coming in because it's going to open back up and it's going to hit us. So I would ask that I've had some meetings with the mayor the past few days, and we're looking at our options as far as it relates to our jail. So that concludes my report unless there's any questions.
Motion to approve.
I got a motion to hear a second.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Gentry, questions?
Yeah, on the civil warrants, it went from 792 to 1786. What was that attributed to again?
They was being held back by the clerk's office by a Supreme Court order. We were not able to serve any civil warrants during that time because all the courts was.
So they just opened it up and you were able to.
And they've been holding them warrants back in the clerk's office, and when the gates opened, they opened, and we got them. So,
okay, so
they're going to be higher next year.
So
next month.
Not necessarily anything significant. It's just the normal.
That's sort of where we've held back for the past month or two. Well, not the sheriff's office. We was under an order by the Supreme Court to do so.
Other questions for Sheriff Bryan? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Sheriff. Report from Education Committee, Commissioner Stafford.
Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners, the Education Committee met remotely on May the 21st. If there are no corrections and/or deletions, I move the minutes be received and filed as typed.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Now, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Directors for School Report, Dr. Donna Wright.
Good evening, Mayor, County Commissioners. You have a pretty full packet, a lot of information in there, much of it being as far as the class of 2020 accomplishments. This has been an unusual year. We start graduation week this week, leading off with Lebanon High School tomorrow. Then we move to Thursday with Mount Juliet High School, doing 2 sessions, Wilson Central on Friday, and then a 10 o'clock morning session for Watertown High School. And it's one that I normally offer an invitation to everyone, but not this year, which has caused a lot of consternation, but it's different for everyone. And when you have graduating classes, we're graduating right at 1,600 kids across the district. So we'll start out with like a 4 o'clock in the evening from A through L, and then we'll follow another one at 8 o'clock with L through Z, and we're doing the same. Other than Watertown, we'll have 1 session. So it's a hard time. The class of 2020's missed out on a lot of milestones that most classes take for granted. But again, this is something that's being faced across the country. You'll also see a packet of information there as far as COVID-19 LEA waiver applications. We had to make application to the state, as did every district, except ours was a little different. We're the only district that sustained building damage. And so with that, had to make application. You'll see it covers just a whole breadth of issues that with the school ending mid-term, that we had to make sure that we covered that, and was submitted today. So that you have that in there. And then the other thing, just to let you know, there's a lot of information that's circulating right now as far as what will happen with schools anywhere, not only just in Tennessee but across the country. And no one has a good solution, but this is what we do know. We know that not only do parents want their kids in school, they're a little frustrated right now and found out that they don't want to be a teacher. And there's a deeper appreciation for teachers right now than we've ever seen before. But with all that said, the thing is that we also know, and there's an obligation that we feel very strongly about, that not only do we need to get children back in school, it's to help parents and families get back to work as well. Because if anything, I know many times we take offense with the idea that we are a large child care provider. Well, that's the truth of it, because that is part of what we all work together, and the benefit as far as being not only a child care provider, but also to make sure that we educate our students so they're going to be ready to keep on building an economy that we take great pride in this country. So today we surveyed, sent a survey out to parents, because here's the things that we're going to be facing, just so you'll know. And I know several of you said you've been asked questions along this line. Whether we'll go back to a normal schedule, whether we'll go back to a remote learning environment, or will we go to a hybrid. And so you've got a lot of provisions with each of those, and looking at even with a normal back-to-school possibility, things still change. The thing that, as far as large group gatherings, looking at proximity in classroom, one of the things that we can't do is the CDC guidelines, and no district can, as far as that, unless they have more resources than they know what to do with. It's a typical classroom 750 to 800 square feet, and they're talking about 6 feet distancing in a classroom. Do the math. It's not doable. It's also a recommendation to skip every other seat on the bus with 1 kid per seat. Well, we transport 10,000 kids, and you know what our history's been in the last 3 years, just even having buses and drivers. So that's something that's not doable as well. But the thing that we're finding, that we are going to just have to change behaviors. We're going to try to open on a normal schedule. We surveyed the parents today. Things have gone out, and they're already coming back with information, and this is what we have to look at. That if we get started, what is our preparation if we have to go back into a remote or a virtual learning environment? And it's likely. I mean, if you look at what's coming out, and the idea that we would be better prepared this time than we were on March the 3rd, because when we left on March the 2nd, we had no idea we wouldn't be coming back. And so in the survey, we're looking at internet access, because this is what we also know. There are huge gaps across the county, and really in Middle Tennessee, where there's no service provider. And with it, people come up, so well, you've got hotspots, you've got all kinds of things that you can use to supplement, but it doesn't catch up with high-speed internet or access to broadband. And so that becomes an issue. So we're surveying to see where our gaps are with families without being intrusive. But the thing is that if we can figure out where we have and sort of coordinate sort of a geolocation as far as where we have those gaps, we can try to fill in. The other thing, as far as what kind of access do parents have at home, as far as whether it's a laptop, a Chromebook, a desktop, a smartphone, just so we'll have an idea of what we're looking at if and when we get back to school. And then the third thing, as far as when we look at this, is what is it that parents desire? And what we're already seeing, I mean, this first time I've ever seen that when you put a survey out to parents, usually you have to beg them to remind them that there's a deadline, June the 22nd, please get the information. They were blowing us up. And so, which is, it's a good thing. But with the same amount of parents that are looking as far as please get us back to school, you know, if you've got parents that have said, I'll sign waivers if you'll just take them back. I don't respond to those. But the thing is, there's the urgency because there's a desperation at this point as far as we have to go back to work. And we're now in a society of both parents work. So we understand that. But we've got another small segment of parents that we started hearing from being that I don't feel quite confident about sending my children to school yet. So what can you do to provide remote learning to my house? It's not a possibility. It's not realistic. So what I'm sharing with you right now as far as that it's one that we are hopeful. We've made great plans as far as, and when I say great plans, as far as looking at unanticipated things that come up, because we've learned a lot since being out since March the 3rd, and part of it being that no matter what preparation you have, there's always going to be something that you cannot possibly anticipate. And the thing that by the time we go back, I want you to just think about this, we've been out of school for nearly 6 months. And that's huge. And particularly with your younger children, because again, the novelty of having school at home wore off within about a month. And so we've got to really look at that. And so part of our plan being that when we get our children back into school, that we're going to spend a lot of time as far as not going into new instruction, but paying attention to as far as the trauma. Many of our children have experienced either the, you know, as far as the tornado, but the trauma of either having both parents out of work, hearing adult conversations as far as the worry, the concern, and parents have shared this with us. And so we've got to make sure that we get our arms around our kids to, you know, that's what school's about, to safe, secure place. And then we'll get to the teaching and learning side of it. And so with that, we're very, very hopeful that things will allow us to at least get back into the rhythm and the routine of school. And I think it'll be good for the county as well. And then I just comment that as far as that, you know, Sheriff Bryant's here, and I see Commissioner Glover here. There's a lot of talk and discussion around the country right now as far as school districts separating themselves from their SROs or wanting to disconnect or not have that association. And I want to stand here publicly and say with great pride that we not only value, but we look at our SROs that are in our schools as part of the faculty. And our students do not see that as something separate and something that's punitive. It's just simply not that way. And I think it's part of that relationship, the partnership, how we present ourselves as far as looking at build that respect and responsibility in our schools. And that's not to say we don't have some knuckleheads, because we do. And our SROs adopt them quickly and have changed them. But I want to say that publicly, that I am so proud to be in a district that we've got such an outstanding relationship with the Mount Juliet Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, the Lebanon Police, and Watertown. And that's something that we all should take pride and value, and we do. And if there's no questions, that concludes my report for this evening.
Move the report be received and filed.
Second.
Discussion? Commissioner Gentry?
Yeah, I just want to thank you very much for all the work that the whole school system has done in preparation.
I need to write
for
that
the next
down.
year. Also, I was in Murfreesboro the other night, and I met a young couple that were going to a prom. It was delayed prom.
Yeah.
I don't know what the venue was. I don't know how many people were there. I was wondering, are we doing any of that as well?
Well, there were some private proms that took place without school affiliation. And, you know, again, some of the parents were probably more upset than the students were. But I also had a lot of pictures of girls sending me the pictures of their dress and talking about how lonely the dress was. But the thing that, again, we had a lot of what I would refer to as responsible parties, where there were small settings at homes, but nothing that would have been as what we would do traditionally, Commissioner. And again, it's regretful that that was something, because there's a lot of memories that senior year that these students are going to miss out on.
They were very happy whenever they were going to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
We had gone out to eat first, and we were
Did they look nice?
Commissioner Breeze?
Could you touch on how many meals school systems furnish through all this for people? I think it's a great achievement. It's not been recognized enough.
From March 17th was when, March 17th or March 18th was our first day, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe, and I've got Mickey back, it's in excess of 160,000 meals. He's nodding his head. And again, we started out, excuse me, by going with what the federal guidelines, but then it was opened up to any student that was 18 or younger, and we had some youngsters that were pulling up on their bicycle, and we also said they had to have an adult with them, but it was when we fed them. And we also had some youngsters that would stop at LSSD first, and then they would head our way, and that was okay. They're hungry. They're hungry. And then also would critique as far as, well, you know what, they have better sandwiches at, you know, and that's okay. We give yogurt, so, you know, but it was good. And I don't make light of it, but it was one of those things that we wanted to make sure that there was no stigma and that you would be welcome. And so it was something that, it was good work, and I mean, in the special school district, I mean, and again, I mean, there was really, and Mike, correct me on this, I mean, very little distinction because we worked together, even with the roving mobile bus, and making sure we're caring for kids. And our Family Resource Center Commissioner is still providing as far as assistance for not only families in need, but youngsters that we know that need extra.
Commissioner Breeze?
You've done an amazing job over the last 3 or 4 months dealing with all of the different issues that have come up.
Max factor in my hair person, it's white.
I do have a quick question. It's been brought up to me a couple of times, is that the timeline on West Wilson Middle School and Stoner Creek, because I know that Mickey was hoping to break ground by June 1, and obviously it hasn't happened, so I thought maybe you could just address kind of where we are in that process.
Well, and it's, we've been having the same questions posed to us as well. And right now, we're still at the final stage end of the insurance, and until that's all negotiated and worked out before any, demolition and construction can take place. And I know that there's been some impatience as far as in thinking that we're solved, because they let us know that as well. But I remind them, I said, if you're looking at West Wilson, turn around and look across the street. And Bob, you know what I'm referring to. I mean, it looks like a war zone. So it's not that it's moving slowly, but there's so much to deal with. But the insurance right now is something that we're working through. And again, that's a pretty catastrophic event when you look at those two schools.
That's completely understandable. So
Yeah.
Thank you for the answer.
Mr. Franklin?
Yeah, you answered my question. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Dr. Wright. Report from the Public Works Committee, Commissioner Weathers.
No report.
Ag Center Management Committee, Commissioner Scruggs.
Ag Center Management meeting at June the 2nd at 5 o'clock. It's in your packet, received and filed.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. And opposed? Animal Control, Commissioner Marlowe.
No report.
Audit, Commissioner Bernard.
No report.
Cable Tax, Commissioner Walker.
No report.
Development Tourism, Commissioner Vanatta.
Chairman of Development Tourism met on June the 9th. Packet, I move they be received and filed.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. And opposed? Ethics, Commissioner Ashe.
No report.
Finance, Commissioner Weathers.
Report.
Health and Recreation, Commissioner Patton.
No report.
Insurance, Commissioner Ashe.
No report.
Judicial, Commissioner Glover.
No report.
Planning and Zoning, Commissioner Rich. No report. Rules, Commissioner Gentry.
No report.
Urban Type Facility Board, Commissioner Scruggs.
Met June the 5th of 2020, 9 o'clock on Friday morning. Packet.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Financial Director's Report, Mr. Aaron Maynard. Commissioner McFarland is under weather tonight, and that's why he is not with us.
I don't have very much tonight. One of the commissioners had asked a very good question. For those of you who have your budget packets, back at the very back of the school system part, I'm looking, the page is not numbered, but it's the page after 92. That is basically Fund 177, which is the school's capital projects fund. There is $60 million sitting there in bond proceeds and $85 million from insurance from the question that was just asked about West Wilson Middle and Stoner Creek. This is not a fund that has previously been budgeted. So when you look at that front page and you see that all of a sudden we're at $443 million, where did all the extra money come from? That's where it is. Okay, now you and I both know that insurance proceeds and bond proceeds are not technically revenue. Nonetheless, that's the way they're budgeted. So I just needed to be sure we were all clear on that issue. Secondarily, I want to inform you of some changes that are being made in my office. There's probably not a person who has better served Wilson County over the last 20 years than Ms. Sharon Lackey. Ms. Sharon Lackey has decided to accept a position with the Wilson County Road Department. And I'm thrilled for her because it is a move up for her, and she's one of the best people I know. And so when she came to me and she told me, and she said it'll probably be September or so before I make the move, she said, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, "I want you to stop doing everything that you're doing, and I want you to teach." So that's exactly what Sharon's doing right now, is she's not processing, she's not doing her normal thing, she's teaching. And I asked her today, how's it going? And she said, it's going great. I'm loving it. And we are certainly learning a lot from her. Myself, LaBronya, and Joe Good are the three people who are primarily absorbing those responsibilities, but also Teresa Scruggs will be absorbing some of those responsibilities, and people over in benefits will be absorbing some of those responsibilities. But I would be remiss not to say, as all of you well know, you couldn't ask for a better person, a more knowledgeable person, and I'm so thankful for her years of service to the Wilson County Finance Department. And we will be prepared to move forward. But I just want to say that we're so very proud of her, proud for her, and where she's headed. So that's all I have. I'll entertain any questions you have about the budget, if I can.
Mr. Gentry?
She will be replaced from within. We will absorb those duties within our current existing staff. We will probably have to hire an accounts payable person to take over some of the funds that one of the people that's going to be assuming quite a bit of her duties. The thing is that the people that I have in place have both these people, the two that I'm talking about, have two major advantages. One is they've both been through the state-sanctioned Certified County Finance Officer program. So these are both graduates of that program. So they've been through financial reporting, they've been through internal controls, they've been through all these things that we deal with on a daily basis. Second major advantage they have is they understand Skyward. They've been working with it now for the last 2 years. So they know how to navigate around in it, they know what to do. The process of training and teaching is going well. You know, I'm glad we're going to have her with us for another little while. That's a great advantage to us. But that is my plan right now, is basically LaBronya will absorb a certain part of it and Joe will absorb a certain part of it. And like I said, others will absorb some of it as well. That's my plan.
Any other questions for Mr. Maynard?
Motion be received and, the report be received and filed.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Maynard. Report from the Budget Committee, Commissioner Marlowe.
Budget Committee met May the 21st and again on June 1st. The minutes are in your packet. I move they be received and filed.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. And opposed? Resolutions, Commissioner Marlowe.
First resolution is 20-6-1.
We'd ask you pull.
You gonna pull that one?
Let me just speak to you right quick. The resolution that we prepared for this in the beginning, 1.59 million, the state had asked us to tell them where it was going to go. Since that time, they have come back and said they're not going to ask us to tell us where it's going to go. They're just going to give you the revenue to put in your budget. Since that time, I heard this morning that Nashville and Shelby County, some of the major counties, got a lot of CARES Act money. So they took some of their proceeds and distributed among the other 92 counties, or 3 counties. And so you will get an additional 400,000 plus to that. We'll give you an exact number. So when it comes in, it'll be right at 2 million. I'm sure Mr. Maynard will bring a resolution in here doing a budget amendment for that. But it will go in the budget, in our budget, and then be used wherever it needs to be used. So there was no need to do, we filled this out because we were just trying to be ready to go when we could get the money the best. And that was going to be July 1st. But since we don't have to use that now, we can pull this one. Commissioner Stafford?
Sir, you said that we're going to go at Aaron's discretion where the money goes. You don't have any idea which fund you're going to put it in yet?
We'll just put it as revenue coming in. You'll have it coming in as revenue, but then when it goes out, nobody's line items will be increased. Okay? Nobody's line items will be increased. This would be just extra revenue coming in, and then you'll approve it coming in and when it goes out. Other questions? We'll pull that one. I don't have to vote on that, right? It just gets pulled? Got it. Go ahead, Mr. Glover.
Resolution 20-6, budget and appropriations resolution for the 2019-20 fiscal year for line item transfers in the Sheriff's Department in the amount of $30,000.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? Please cast your vote. Commissioner Stafford? All hearts and minds good with your vote? Please record. 24 yes, 1 absent. Resolution passes.
Resolution 20-6-3 is to reflect revenues received but not included in the original budget for the 2019-20 fiscal year, and to amend the budget and appropriation resolution for the 2019-20 fiscal year to make an additional appropriation and line item transfers into the Sheriff's Department in the amount of $21,350.
Second.
A motion and a second. Now, any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? Please cast your vote. Please record. 24 yes, 1 absent. Resolution passes.
Resolution 20-6-4 for accepting a grant on the 2021 Litter Grant Program and authorizing the county mayor to execute a contract between the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation and Wilson County, Tennessee.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Please cast your vote. Commissioner Walker? All hearts and minds good with your vote? Please record.
Resolution 20-6, County, Tennessee, for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020, $5189.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Being none, are you ready to vote? Please cast your vote. Commissioner Patton? All hearts and minds good with your vote? Please record. 24 yes, 1 absent. Resolution passes. Ready for 20-6-6.
Guess what I'm going to County Board, 20-6-6, a resolution making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Wilson County, Tennessee for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020, and ending June 30, 2021. Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve, there a second? And a second. Commissioner Patton.
Yes, I'd like to amend the budget, please, for the health and welfare and recreation department, to put the budget back at status quo instead of what is in, due to miscommunication. We're set to cut our budget if need be, at this time it's not. Second.
Can you just accept that one?
You can. Except, and the who made the second?
I did.
Commissioner Stafford. Commissioner Franklin?
Yeah, as one of the districts that was extremely damaged in March, I just want to thank this commission, you, Mayor, Finance Director, everyone that's worked on this, to hold our tax rate where it is and not increase the rate, and asking the public at this time. Great service to our citizens. If you were spared a lot of the damage in March, my district is still very torn out. People are still very much trying to rebuild their homes. And to raise taxes right now would be horrible in my district. I just want to thank each and every one of you, all the department heads who are cooperating. And to do this from afar, not even get together, pass this budget. I've never been proud of it.
Chairman Marlowe, during the most recent budget committee meeting, it was noted that Fund 124 for the Ag Center would receive 55% of the hotel motel tax, but the tourism and development was not mentioned. This can be found in section 12 of your appropriations resolution, although it is in there tonight. After discussion at that meeting, a motion was made to add tourism to receive 17% of the hotel motel tax. Director of Finance, Larry Maynard, had already indicated earlier during that meeting that he predicted a decrease of between 25 and 35% in the hotel motel tax revenue. With that thought in mind, I make a motion that the percentage of hotel motel tax revenue to tourism and development remain at 11% in lieu of 17%, since I cannot find any resolution raising it to 17%.
Second.
I have a motion, second. Mr. Manager, you want to speak on the 11 to 17%?
Yeah.
The motion that was made was to have the tourism percentage reflect what it actually was in the prior year. It is my belief, although this is only my belief, okay? The mayor probably doesn't agree with this, and you probably do not agree with this. But it's my belief, and the reason I removed the percentage from tourism in the first place is it had already been changed from 11% several years ago, and it gotten up to 17%. My feeling is that we fund tourism with hotel motel tax dollars, but without setting a specific percentage. That is my feeling and my feeling only, because ultimately, if you drop it to 11, we're not dropping this budget down. We'll fund tourism at the degree that this body determines that it's going to fund it, without any direct tie to any specific percentage of hotel motel tax. That's the reason I removed the percentage. However, again, you get to choose. You know, if you want it to be 17%, you know, if hotel motel tax is off, as we projected it will be, 17% will not fund the current budget. Okay, so does that mean anything? No, not really. we're still, tourism is still gonna have an appropriation of that much money that it's gonna be able to spend unless we come back and take some of it away. So, again, it's my feeling that the whole idea of tying a specific percentage is probably not really the correct way to go. If we decide each and every year how much money tourism gets, and that's how much it gets. So my feeling, but again, that's just my feeling, so.
And how it got started was that there were some conversations that I've had previously about tourism, ag center,
Health and Recreation, and one or two other funds being funded by property tax. So we just made a declaration to say, okay, let's fund those funds that are not really providing services as much with hotel motel tax. So that's where the idea came from. So it's like we used to say when we fund WEMA, for example, that we fund out of state shared revenues. Well, all our revenues is in a pot. And so the former finance director used to say, well, you know, I was going to try to separate them. He said, well, you just reach in there and grab those dollars out. But you can designate what you want to in there, but at the end of the day, it's still coming out of the general fund money. So that's where the hotel motel tax came from. And I think to clear this up, we just hadn't changed the wording from 11%. It's always been designated to whatever you guys approve that tourism budget is and relate it back to hotel motel tax. The Ag Center, y'all made a resolution for it to say 55%. So when it goes up, whatever hotel motel tax is, when it goes up from 2 million to 2.5 million, whatever 55% is of hotel motel tax, they get. They don't come to you for needs. That is their growth money, okay? But we didn't do that for any other fund. We didn't do it for tourism. Commissioner Venata and I had worked on maybe doing that at one point and maybe getting there, but we never got there. So you haven't passed a resolution to do that yet.
Yeah, I just want, and just to clarify what he just said, if you'll look at Fund 124, you'll notice the hotel motel tax for the Ag Center actually goes down because the projection of revenue goes down. So 55% of less, as Mr. Gentry and I were discussing at the budget workshop, 55% of less is less. We're not doing the same thing with tourism. You know, so I really don't think a particular percentage is really appropriate, but that's just me.
Commissioner Stafford?
Yes, sir. I have a question that I was asked earlier about one of my constituents, that since we're going to reduce this from 17 to 11, will anybody be losing their jobs, or everything is basically on the same, nothing's really going to change, just the numbers, correct, number percentage?
The idea was 11 to 17, just what dollars are going to pay for that fund, not about the fund itself. I don't think we're lowering we're not lowering the budget. We're just talking about what dollars pay for it.
Okay, I just want to make sure nobody's going to lose their job.
Commissioner Venata, were you there?
Sorry, I was listening. Repeat that question, please.
No, I saw you on here, my bad.
I was going to address the earlier one when we cut the agencies. I'll go back to that in a minute.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, and like you said, you and I have worked on this several times, we've never been able to get it over the 11%. And it was like that in the resolution, I think, last year and the year before last.
Mm-hmm. We've tried to get it tied to a certain percentage so that when hotel motel tax went up, tourism would actually gain dollars there, but we were never able to do that. So he just always rolled this percentage to whatever the budget was. And the last couple of years, I think he just left it 11%. It's been 17 or 15, but we just hadn't moved it, and somebody said something about it in our meeting the other day and said, why don't you make it right? So it was actually wording more than it was anything else.
Like Commissioner Fields said, the resolution was stated 11%.
Yeah.
Am I correct on that? It's always been stated 11%.
Then
you all just gave them more than that?
Actually, originally, there was no percentage out there.
Yeah.
The first year that we made this move, I did not have a percentage in the resolution. It then became make it whatever, as it was this year, make it whatever it's actually getting, which we did. And then, of course, it increased since then, and we didn't necessarily correspondingly increase the resolution.
And in reality, probably there's no real need for it to be in there at all because we don't go by it and we haven't passed a resolution for us to use it. So it was just in there because we were trying to get it established at some point. That's really the bottom line.
I'm sorry. Haven't we been voting on the appropriations resolution and it's been 11% before in that?
Oh, absolutely.
Commissioner Gentry,
But if 11% doesn't fund it,
pick it up with the rest.
get it any,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
So why have it in there? If they have a budget, just let them have their budget.
And it,
We don't do that for anything else.
correct.
So, you know, I can understand why we do it for the Ag Center.
Yes, sir.
Because they have a lot of things that are happening there, and they have a reserve, basically it's a reserve. They still have their budget. Anytime they spend out of their reserve, they have to come to the commission to get approval. So why do we have any percentage in for tourism? That's my question.
And that's what I was trying to answer, is because we had been working on trying to get them a percentage. Now, as our attorney just said a while ago, the Ag Center is a separate fund as well. It sets by itself.
Right, it makes a separate fund if they have excess.
Yes, sir.
But if they have less than excess, do they have a negative in that separate fund?
The way I read this, and I'm out of my field here, but this 55% of hotel motel tax goes directly to Fund 124.
Right, I understand that. But the tourism, if 17 or 18 or 11% goes to fund it, and it's not enough, and they have a separate fund for them, do they have a negative amount if they don't have enough out of that? That's all I'm asking, I don't know.
I hope I'm understanding you, Mr. John. The tourism is in the general fund budget.
Right, it's in the general fund budget,
Fund it whether you get the 11%, 17%, or whatever.
as well as the Ag Center's in there too, and the Expo Center.
The Ag Center's a separate fund, isn't it?
It
It's
is.
a separate fund.
Yeah. So 55% of the hotel motel tax goes into that separate.
Yeah, it goes, but they have a budget, and any excess goes into their, basically an excess fund.
We'll go into fund balance as far as,
Into fund balance
Ag
in that
Center's
fund.
concerned.
Whereas tourism, they don't have a fund balance.
That's correct. Concerning, in other words, Aaron, and concerning tourism, there's really no need to have at this point in time, there's no reason to have a percentage attached to it at all.
in my mind, that is correct.
Because more or less, we're just asking for a status quo budget.
Correct.
So your motion is just to leave it the way it was?
It was originally 11%, and that was to remain there.
I have a
Since it-
motion and a second to leave it like it is, and it's probably irrelevant, really, but we can vote on it and leave it like it is, because it really doesn't carry any weight, in my knowledge, on that. But we can vote on that. So I got a motion and a second to leave it at 11. All in favor, say aye. Got to call the roll, my bad, okay? Can you make, okay? Are we clear on what we're talking about?
Your amendment's resolution, you got it, yeah. Okay, because we're not amending a dollar amount. Yeah, but this, everything in here deals with dollars. Okay.
So on the floor right now, okay, in the appropriation wording, it says 11%. It says 17%. 17% of the tourism budget is coming from hotel motel tax. If 17% is not enough money to fund that tourism budget, then he just picks it up with property tax dollars, okay? So that number is there. It does not, it's in the general fund budget, so it is funded that way. Am I correct, Mr. Mayor? Yeah, because it doesn't stand alone. It's not on its separate budget like the Ag Center. It doesn't, as I said earlier, this all got started because me and Commissioner Vidal was trying to get it its own percentage. So it would grow on its own as hotel motel tax did, and the reason being that since that's what they did, they put heads in beds, and so that give them an incentive to work for their budget. That's why we were talking about that. So that's where that appropriation line came from. It means something in the Ag Center budget because it's its own budget. But tourism is within the total scope of the general purpose budget as you look in your budget book. And so we're just saying, hey, we're going to fund it with hotel motel tax and property tax if it's not enough. Really the same resolution you got out there, to be truthful with, you're going back in the Ag Center, If the hotel motel tax is not enough there, you backfill it with property tax because we agreed at 2%, 2 cents would still be in there. It's always been more, but we haven't done it. So that's why that wording was there. It don't, I mean, it doesn't change anything where you go 11% or 17%. It's still got to be funded, and that's what Aaron was saying to you earlier, because he was saying that you're going to fund the tourism budget along with what you approved tonight. If you don't want to fund it at a certain level, you just say that now. But how, the dollars you use to fund it is either going to be hotel motel tax or it's going to be property tax. Mr. Gentry?
So if 11% gets you $1 million more
Yes, sir.
than their budget, where's the $1 million from?
Say it one more time now.
11% say
Goes in general fund.
$1 million more than their budget calls for.
Then you don't, they don't,
$1 million go.
it stays in the general fund because all you're going to fund it, you're only going to give them the amount of money, whatever money y'all approve in their budget is all they're getting. Whether it's property tax dollars or hotel motel tax dollars, it's irrelevant. Okay? So they're only going to get the amount of money you approve in their budget, and that's it. They don't get any more. You can make that hotel motel tax 99%. But it ain't going to matter because you're only going to get what y'all approved them to get. Okay? Commissioner Weathers?
I think just what Commissioner Fields is trying to say, am I right? You're saying everybody else had a status quo budget and you're just trying to do the same thing, correct? That's what your amendment is. Call for the question.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure we all understood. Commissioner Robinson was in the docket there when we called.
Would you tell me what the 11% is worth and what the 17% is worth?
The 17 is worth the amount that is in there right now, basically, well, for 18-19. Let's see, for tourism, 58,110. For last year, it was $343,705. That's what 17%.
17%?
That was 17%. It will be less than that this year, based on the fact that we projected it less.
And another way to look at this is if hotel motel tax doesn't bring in a dime, tourism still funded according to what y'all got in the budget. Appropriation.
Yeah. I know I haven't explained it well, but the percentage really does not mean anything at all. I mean, I don't know how to. Yeah. Commissioner Ashe? Commissioner Ashe?
Question being called for.
Thank you for recognizing me, but I think they called for the question, but this is really irrelevant. But if we move it to 11%, they're still gonna get their money.
That's what I said.
I was here when that resolution was passed, and there was a percentage put in the resolution. So we just need to come back sometime after we do this and clean that up.
Yeah.
And it won't become an issue after that.
So you're voting right now on the 11%, to stay 11% and not 17%. If you want to move from 17 to 11, please vote yes. If you want to leave it at 17, please vote no. And I'll ask you to vote. It is irrelevant. It's all about nothing. Nope, we got one more. We got one more. Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Stafford, Commissioner Patton.
I'm still trying to decide, so 11% is yes and 17 is no.
Correct. That's correct.
Either way, doesn't matter.
Yeah, either way, it don't matter, but go ahead. Is all hearts and minds good with your vote? Okay, Commissioner Patton? Commissioner Patton?
11 is yes.
That's right. Sandra?
9.
Sandra?
Filled it.
Oh,
Do it, it won't be right on this.
she'll change it when we get through, okay? She said she can't change it on there right now?
It'll still be counted as what? What would it be counted as?
If you're voting no, I can change, it's not gonna show on the screen no. I can change it after the fact.
Yeah, but will it count for the vote?
It will.
Right?
Yeah.
As long as it counts for the vote.
Commissioner Costley?
Oh, man. So we're just basically voting for the status quo budget?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha, that's all I needed.
All hearts and minds good now? Please record. I got-
Three no.
I got 21 yes and 3 no for the resolution. It passed, and so therefore you've amended it to where it'll say 11% instead of 17%. Now we're back to vote on the budget as amended, and Commissioner Vanatta.
Yes, I want to make a motion that we go back on the agencies that were funded. Commissioner Patton did, they go back to status quo.
Okay, she made that motion, so you're seconding it, okay?
Hers is Health and Welfare and Recreation, mine is Development and Tourism Agencies.
So my motion could include all of them.
If you want,
Okay, was y'all's reduced to? Okay, so all of them to go back to status quo, which is,
Health and welfare, recreation, and tourism.
and the Development and Tourism.
and development tourism, and chambers and all of them. So none of them are cut, all of them are going to status quo. Okay,
But we're ready to cut at the appropriate time.
okay. And Commissioner Marlowe, you accepted their amendment,
Yes, sir.
so we're good on that.
Yes, sir.
So now we're ready to vote on the budget as amended. Commissioner Walker, are you good?
Do we need to vote on that separate like we just voted, or?
No, if he accepts it, we're good to go. It's included, okay? So we're ready to vote on the budget as amended. Everybody ready? All right, please cast your vote. All hearts and minds good with your vote?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking.
Please record on the budget.
24 yes on that.
24 yes and 1 absent. Resolution passes. I'm going to say this before we go to our zoning meeting. I can't thank you enough for what you did. Commissioner Franklin mentioned it a while ago, but you all did well under circumstances that we had to get a budget passed on time. And we'll continue to monitor and give you updates as we go forward and try to get those out to you monthly. This time, I need a motion to go out of session for a public hearing on the zoning. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Mr. Tom Bashir, I'll turn it over to you.
There's a bunch of information in here about social distancing and COVID-related provisions we made. I'm going to read a portion of those, but I'm going to dispense with reading those for the purpose of the public hearing notice and announcement, because I think anybody that would have exercised it is either here or has sent in the comments as requested. Ladies and gentlemen, a public hearing will be held before the Wilson County Commission on Monday, June 15th, 2020 at 7 p.m. or thereafter in the County Commission Room of the Wilson County Courthouse, located here at 228 East Main Street in Lebanon, Tennessee. Given COVID-related precautions for those who did not plan on attending the meeting due to COVID and concerns about it, they were given the opportunity to forward comments by mail or email to my office. The first item that we have up for public hearing, we have 2 items tonight. The first item is a request by Ryan Williams on behalf of R&R Marine Incorporated, DBA/Cherokee Steakhouse Marina Campground, to rezone approximately 10.35 acres from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to C2 General Commercial. The properties are located at 400 and 450 Cherokee Boat Dock Road and are further referenced as Wilson County Property Map 10, Parcel 23. Copies of this rezoning request have been on file at our offices in the planning office in the basement of this building at 228 East Main Street. Anyone desiring to comment is requested to come forward at this time. I did not receive any email or mail request to be read into the public hearing.
Anyone wishing here to speak on this property tonight? This is the one, 400 and 500 Cherokee Dock, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
450
450?
and
My bad.
400 Cherokee Boat Dock Road.
Anyone? Seeing no one, we'll go to the second one, Tom.
The next item is a rezoning request for the following property owners: Emmanuel Job, David Lynch, and wife Tammy Lynch, and Vulcan Lands Incorporated, and they are requesting to rezone an assemblage of collective properties that are approximately 5.69 acres from A1 agricultural to I2 industrial. The properties are located at 1943 Murfreesboro Road and referenced as Wilson County Property Map 103, Parcel 20. 1925 Murfreesboro Road, further referenced as Wilson County Property Map 103, Parcel 21.01. And the Vulcan Lands Incorporated property referenced as Wilson County Property Map 103, Parcel 21. Again, these have been on file in my office. We gave the same opportunity for people to respond with public comment by email or by mail. And anyone that is here in attendance tonight that wishes to speak may come forward at this time.
Anyone who wants to speak on this property, please step forward if you do mind and state your name and address for the record, please. The microphone is in the back here.
'49 Murfreesboro Road.
You can speak now.
Okay. I apologize, but this was the first setting that I was aware of. So I'm still getting information, but I just wanted to express my concerns about basically, in my mind, the expansion of the rock quarries is around our land and the commercial businesses and the residences and how we live with it daily. Sorry, can you hear me? So the manner of the mining and things that go on at the business, I guess that the company wants to rezone and expand around us, it's actually causes like daily issues that we have to deal with the blasting, the debris, the noise. And there are like commercial businesses all on that strip, like going down 231 from Murfreesboro to Lebanon. So it would just seem that I would like more information as to what would be the long-term purpose of what this rezoning means. We have to deal with like when the blasts occur, it shakes the whole structure of our buildings, and we have vehicles that are elevated or work that's actively going on that puts us at risk and danger. Our plumbing is constantly cracking. We're having to repair it. It's actually has to be shut down for like the other part of my structure for the past 2 years. And then it causes the water to leak, which there's actually a current like very high bill at this time, so we had to cut it off. Again, the debris and the noise and then just the safety issues that we basically just have dealt with ourselves and haven't really reached out to anyone for support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, my name is Jack Lowry. I represent Mr. Job, Mr. and Miss Lynch, and Vulcan's Land Company as it relates to filing the application to rezone. We filed this application, I believe, on May the 5th, which was a deadline. We since then had a planning commission meeting where it received a favorable recommendation and a unanimous vote for approval. In between that time period, I'd reached out to Commissioner Ashe and explained to him the application for rezoning. We are talking about approximately 6 acres or less that run along and front Highway 231. 2 of the parcels belong to Mr. Job and Mr. Lynch. One of them belongs to Vulcan and actually had some split zoning. We have requested for the zoning to be changed to I2, which matches the zoning we currently have. It also matches the zoning of the earlier speaker here today before you. We reached out to several of the residents that surround there and actually spoke with them about the rezoning effort. All were in support of it, one of which sent an email in support of it to Mr. Brashear's office that I believe is a part of any packet and the record. It is our intent to rezone and to berm and beautify this 6 acres that basically runs along the front of 231. We do not seek additional ingress or egress. We will keep the same ingress and egress that we have. We would submit that it will actually improve the commercial and economic impact out there from a beautification standpoint. We've received no opposition to date. I did take an opportunity to speak with the earlier young lady just beforehand and have offered to share any information with her. But I think in general, the ultimate purpose is to create security for the quarry out there by additional berming. It will allow us to gain some extra storage. The footprint of the quarry as it sits today will not grow outside of those setbacks, and of course purchasing that 6 acres. But as far as the actual mining operations and things of that nature, nothing will grow as it results from this rezoning effort that we're asking for tonight. I'm here to answer any questions outside of that. I probably spoke more than I wanted to, but I'm here to answer any other questions that the commission has. Thank you.
Anyone else here wishing to speak on these properties? Okay, this time I'll take a motion to go back into session.
Motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Mr. Tom?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, the first item we have for your consideration is, again, a request by Ryan Williams on behalf of R&R Marinas Incorporated, DBA/Cherokee Steakhouse Marina Campground, requesting to rezone approximately 10.35 acres from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to C2 General Commercial. The properties, again, are located at 400 and 450 Cherokee Boat Dock Road, or Cherokee Dock Road, and referenced as Wilson County Property Map 10, Parcel 23. This rezoning request was presented to the Wilson County Planning Commission on May 22nd, 2020, and is being forwarded to the Wilson County Commission with a positive recommendation.
I will say that Commissioner McFarland did text me he couldn't be here tonight, and this is in his district, and he is in favor of it, just so you have that knowledge. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Mr. Tom?
The next item that I have for your consideration is the request by the following property owners: Emmanuel Job, David Lynch, and wife Tammy Lynch, and Vulcan Lands Incorporated, with an assembled request to rezone collective properties of approximately 5.69 acres from A1 agricultural to I2 industrial. The properties are located at 1943 Murfreesboro Road, 1925 Murfreesboro Road, and the remaining Vulcan lands in between those two addresses that fronts on 231. And the property references are map 103, parcel 20, Wilson County map 103, parcel 2101, and the Vulcan lands that are in between is referenced as a portion of map 103, parcel 21. The rezoning request was presented to the Wilson County Planning Commission on May 22nd, 2020, and is being forwarded to the Wilson County Commission with a positive recommendation. I should add that in reference to surrounding property owner that did issue a letter of support, that I believe her name was Brenda Rohr, I can't ever get her name pronounced correctly, that owns Surefire Fireworks across the street. She did issue a letter of support for this rezoning that was read into the minutes of the Planning Commission during their consideration. So,
Commissioner Ashe, is in your district?
Mr. Chairman, this is, most of y'all know I can see the rock quarry from my backyard, and I'm not a big rock quarry fan. But I am a big Vulcan fan because they do a good job of keeping their property straight and clean, and every neighbor and every business person that's called me or I've talked to is in support of this resolution, so I move for this to be approved.
Second.
I got a motion for approval. Here a second. Now, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Let the record reflect it was unanimous.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a good remainder of the month of June.
Hey, Tom,
Yes.
concerning the question that I called you about, concerning the other quarry, could you give us some, I may not be the only one that received a phone call from the neighbors around that piece of property. Can you give us any information about that?
We have a long-standing, well, I say long-standing, we have an issue that rears its head from time to time in the county and has done so, at least in my time here, since 2001 going forward. About every couple of years, we end up talking about it. We end up looking at different regulations we can put in place. But those are referred to traditionally as borrow pit type operations, where people are going in and either robbing a particular farm of topsoil and or rock or other materials that may or may not be used for construction, for residential lawns, for gardens, what have you. I believe you're referring to an issue on Hurricane Creek Road.
Yes, sir.
That you did receive a phone call from a neighbor about. I also have received several calls from at least a couple of those neighbors, maybe three of them, and have done so repeatedly over the past few years. But in short, we've taken different regulations in front of the Planning and Zoning Committee and Urban Type Public Facilities Board. Different times we'll look at changing something. We'll kind of back up after talking to the Ag Extension and the USDA about what we can and can't do in regards to, I guess, stepping into the middle of agricultural operations, which is not really our intent. Our intent is people that are harvesting rock or dirt and selling it for commercial purposes. I would say that it's an ongoing issue that is very hard for us to enforce anything on, given agricultural laws that are in place. I would also say that with the current circumstances, about what we can do is require them to get a permit through stormwater. The one you're referring to has gotten I think what's called MPDES permit by submitting what's called a Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, or SWIP plan, to the state of Tennessee. And then subsequently, because they got that SWIP plan, they were issued a stormwater permit by our local stormwater office because they complied with the requirements. That being said, it's a problem, and I'm happy to discuss it again in committee or whatever you'd like to do.
So ag law permits harvesting rock?
Ag law permits harvesting soils and moving soils around from farm to farm for a farmer. If they run into rock in the interim, many of the farms we have today probably resulted from people clearing land and then removing rocks from where they wanted to grow things. So if they run into rock as a side effect, yes, I would say that they can do that. Do I think people are pushing the envelope between commercial and agricultural? Yes.
Commissioner Ashe?
Just to be perfect, this is in the 12th district. We have met Christmas Eves.
Yes, sir.
Hundreds, if not literally hundreds of hours in this. The phone calls you're getting are from one of the nicest ladies I know in this world. And she has every concern to be concerned. But I think this is something the General Assembly will need to take up about how people, I think, purge the minerals and soil off the sites and leave them naked and exposed. And their concerns are real. And
as a planner, I would welcome help from the state of Tennessee agencies and.
So I have spoken, with the senator in this district, both House members, they are aware of it. There are other House members. This has been ongoing for all of us. We probably hadn't shared it with you, but if I said 100 hours, I'd be underestimating it, would you say, Mayor?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Kurtz?
While we're chasing red herrings, I'll just ask my question. So what I hear you saying is if somebody digs a hole, I can, without a permit, take that dirt out to my farm, cover rocks with it.
You may
and
very well
farm.
have to get a permit. It'll be a stormwater permit that ensures that you're
Okay,
going
so I
back
can
and
get
stabilizing.
I can get a
Yeah.
permit. Do I have to go out there and hire an engineer if I'm just covering my rock to farm on it?
I'd have to defer that to my stormwater coordinator in terms of what level of technical plans have to be submitted for the SWIP plan. But I believe in many cases they do have to hire an engineer.
And I think this is why we're chasing red herrings here, because we don't know where that dirt's going to we know where it's coming from, but
Yes,
we
sir.
don't know where it's going to.
They tell us they're building a farm pond and/or they're taking dirt and taking it to another farm. You know, I don't have the staff or resources to follow somebody, number one, all the 24/7, but
it's happened.
But number two, even if I don't have any way to really ask for their gross receipts either.
Right, yeah.
And so, Commissioner Curtis, the short version, we have met many times and put these people together in the same room to try to work out some of these issues. But if they have a permit to dig the dirt and sell it, and then run into a rock, okay, that they blast and take it to another farm that they have and use it somewhere, that's where we have nothing we can do about that. Now, if they take that rock off and sell it, that's a different ballgame.
Well, and I think that's because I've had phone calls about, and we've looked at doing the same exact thing to bring dirt in to cover rocks with. But then you're told, and so if you can scrape it off of here, but I can't move it over here to cover rocks without having an engineer, but I don't have to have an engineer to come out to scrape it off, something's wrong there.
I think they have the permits for the scraping off. It's the selling of the rock or putting it on a farm is that's the biggest issue, where it's quarried or not. Commissioner Ashe?
When we get done here, I'd like to talk to you.
Commissioner Bishop?
We'll meet outside.
Commissioner
I probably need to stay quiet, but I know a little bit about what you all are talking about, and I spoke with the lady that Terry's talking about this morning, and she says that right now everything's okay, and what had been going on has stopped. So now it could start again, I guess, but that's what she seemed to think right now. She was pretty happy.
Okay. Commissioner Ashe, you got something you want to add to that?
She's right. The lady out there doesn't even have a city water line. Her well is her main concern. Y'all offered that. It's a legitimate concern. So Mayor and I have been working, trying to find her water, trying to find a way to resolve it. But tell you what, so you'll know, this is one of the nicest ladies you'll ever meet and you'll ever come in contact with. And the concerns are real. She just kind of caught me out of space a little bit right there. We're trying to help.
We're the same age, Terry.
Yeah. Any old business to come before this body? Any new business? All right. One more motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.